one of the things that I learned way back in the 70s when I started this work is if you want to know what's coming down the pike, look at what the artists are doing, and these are artists, most of them, and the neurotics. Because they're picking up on what is emerging. They're picking up on the energy. They're picking up on the edges of what's happening, and they're building on it. And what they do will end up leading to others doing things around those things. So focusing on the artists and the neurotics are two of the things that you can do to begin to get a sense of what's coming down the pike in any given culture. This framework, this is a simplification of a framework developed by a guy named Graham Molitor. This is put out in the 90s. He developed it in the 60s. The idea is that these artists and the visionary works are going to be where something begins to emerge, and then it's going to come up in various other forms of behaviors in the communities, etc., and then it's going to show up in the technical and scientific literature. Science fiction is usually back in here, and then it shows up in the science. Then the mass media begins to cover it, and you can see it's already penetrated the culture by the time the mass media begins to pick it up. So that's part of why I was reading 40 different journals every month, was because if it was here, if it was in Women's Day or Time, it was about here. If it was in Discover magazine, it was in here. If it was in the science fiction, it was here. If it was in the architecture journal or in a story about the films and the movies, it was probably here. And then last but not least, it enters into the educational materials. And sometimes that can take, here it's saying 30 years before the present, and then in the present, it might be here. So something to be aware of as you're looking to see what's going on. What I'm suggesting is that a lot of the community building things that started, back in the 70s and 80s are now arriving in here. And if we want to know what's going to be coming up 30, 40 years hence, what's going on back here?